I'm Megan and I work in the support department at Bloomerang, and a fun fact about me is that I actually used to be a camp counselor. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to teach you how to build a one match, hopefully one match, it might be 2 or 3 because it's still a little bit wet outside, a one match fire with no liquid fuel, so we're not going to pour anything on the fire that makes it burn hotter or catch fire easier. Okay, so first off, we're going to need our materials. The first material we're going to need is our tinder. Tinder is going to be made out of sticks that are smaller around than your pinky finger. So very, very skinny and very dry, so they break very easily. So there we go, nice easy break. We want them to be brown so we know it's dead wood, because wet wood is going to make the fire smoke a lot and it might not start very well. Next we have our kindling. It's the next step up. It's going to be a little bit bigger around, but not quite as big as our fuel. And our fuel is our big logs that we're going to use to keep the fire going. Of course, we need a place to put our fire, so I'm going to put it here in my fire pit. Some matches, and then safety first, we always want to have a bucket or a tub of water nearby just in case something happens. Okay, now I want to make sure that I'm ready as well. If you have long hair like I do, you always want to tie it back and wear a hat or a bandana. That way if sparks fly off the fire, they're landing on your hat or your bandana first and not on your hair, because that can be, of course we know, can set your hair on fire. Okay, so let's get started. First, I'm going to take my kindling and I'm going to break it up into very short pieces, about as long as my finger or maybe a little bit longer. Because this is what we're going to want to catch on fire first. Okay, so now that I have my tinder ready to go, I'm going to start building a little house for my fire. What I want to choose for my big log, my fuel, is one that has a lot of wood kind of hanging off of it, a lot of little strands that'll catch on fire easily. I also want a few pieces of my kindling and of course my tinder that I just made. Okay, here we go. So I've made a little house for my fire. For the base I have my fuel here, and then I put inside my tinder, and then the roof are my kindling. Now I want there to be some room in between the fuel here and the kindling so that air can go through where the tinder is, because fire needs air in order to grow. Okay, so now I'm ready to start my fire. Always make sure you have an adult around, of course, when you start a fire, and have permission to do so. Luckily, I'm an adult, so I can make a fire by myself. But we're going to take our matches. Let's test one just to see how far we get. I'm going to blow on it just a little bit. Not too hard because I don't want it to go out. All right, looks like that didn't take very well. The wood is still kind of wet, so we'll do another. And just kind of keep going until it lights. Here we go. You can see I got a little flame going. I'm going to want to give it lots of oxygen. As long as there's still smoke coming out, that means I'm doing something right. And add some more tinder to give it some more food. All right, now that's big enough, I'll take you a little bit closer so you can see what's happening inside. All right, so here's my little fire. See, I stuck the matches down underneath there to catch the tinder. And my goal is to get the kindling that's laying on top of it to catch on fire too. I still want to keep throwing in some tinder to make sure it doesn't burn out because the tinder burns very, very quickly. There we go. Just keep a close eye on it because we want those flames to keep coming out. Okay, now that I've got my little fire going, I can show you a little bit more about it. So I said earlier that fire needs oxygen in order to burn. When you blow on it, you inhale oxygen and your body uses it to keep, your lungs moving and your blood flowing, but your body doesn't keep all of it when you breathe in. So when you breathe out, there's still some oxygen in there. So that's why when you blow gently on the fire, it'll make it burn a little bit higher, a little bit more, give it some more fuel. There we go. Now you can see that my tinder is almost fully consumed and now it's burning the kindling, which is these three slightly bigger strips here. I'm gonna put a little bit more tinder on it just to make sure it keeps going, because the next things we want to catch are our bigger logs. Okay, so as you can see, I've added a few more pieces of kindling. I want to keep a close eye on my fire until the fuel, which are the big logs, have caught fire, which they haven't done yet. It's just the kindling right now. And we want to keep giving it some oxygen. And the goal is for that fire to kind of consume all of that kindling I have there so that it'll make coals. And coals are little small, ashy, hot pieces of fire that when you blow on them, they can also catch things on fire. And that's how we're going to get our fuel to catch. So I'll show you a little bit of a closer look. Okay, so as you can see here, I do have some coals starting to form. That's the kind of white part of the kindling there. And when I blow on it, it lights up hotter. So it's very hot, even though you can't see it. So let me show you here. There we go. Did you see how it kind of lit up a little bit more? So that's what I want to eventually travel all the way up my kindling to get to my fuel. And I keep putting some more tinder on there just to give the fire some more food. Okay, so as you can see, I've got a merry little fire going. I want to keep adding pieces of kindling to it to give it some more food. And I also want to make sure I'm giving it lots of oxygen. Now you might not always see a flame while your fire is starting when it's still really small. It might just be those coals. And that's why you want to keep giving it some oxygen so that it can make those flames. Keep putting fuel in there as well. So by fuel at this stage, it's the tinder and the kindling. Okay, so I've been sitting here kind of watching it, giving it some more kindling and giving it some more oxygen for a few minutes, and now I can see that my fuel, the big log, has finally caught fire. And I can see that because it's developed coals on the inside, so I'll take you a little bit closer to show you that. Okay, so now I can see in here that there are coals that have formed on my big log, my fuel. So I know my fire is well and truly burning now. Okay, and now that it is for sure going, I've got my big fuel log that has caught fire, and my kindling is starting to burn up. I'm gonna take another fuel log, a bigger log, and I don't want to cover the whole fire because that'll smother it. Just kind of put it covering some of it and give it some more oxygen. So now that everything in there is so hot and the flames are starting to grow, it'll start to catch this log here on fire as well. Okay, so now my fire is well and truly going. You can see I gave it a little bit more kindling. You can never have too much kindling, just until you're absolutely sure that those big logs have caught on fire. Just keep putting kindling on there. Doesn't hurt. Okay, so now that the fire is a lot bigger, all the logs have caught, I can start putting logs, oh, sorry, smoke, on the top of the fire. Very gently. And there we go. There's our campfire. All right, let's take a little bit of a closer look at our fire here. This is what's going on inside. So you can see originally where I first had my fire is where most of the coals are now. That's where it's burning the hottest. And it's spreading to the rest of the kindling and the fuel that I've given it. So in no time here, we should have a much bigger fire. Okay, so it has been about half an hour now, and I've sat with my fire the whole time, so I never want to leave a fire unattended. And while I've been waiting and watching it and giving it a little bit more kindling, here's how it looks now. I've got myself a nice little campfire. I'm gonna sit out here and read a book and maybe roast some marshmallows. So have a nice day.